Welcome, Jade, to my YouTube channel. It's just great having you here. Please introduce yourself to my followers. Just say, I guess, your name and what your current role.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Jade. My current role is team leader for an early intervention team. Okay, so early intervention is basically the first step into mental health services. So it ranges from ages 18 to 65, but it's when you're having your first episode of psychosis, you'd be referred to our team.
Cool, great. And how did you get into being a team leader for an early intervention team, Jade?
I don't know where to begin. It's a long story.
Start where you think. Start wherever you want to. Go ahead.
I guess I always had a passion and a drive to want to become a leader and go into management. I was a care coordinator for quite a number of years beforehand, and my most recent care coordination role was early intervention in a different area. So I felt very comfortable there. I really enjoyed it. And then an opportunity came to become a team leader in that current team, which I applied for, and I didn't get the role. And I think when you start applying for higher bands, it's then hard to stay where you are. Yeah. So I just kind of kept applying to other ones until I got it. And after my fourth interview, I got a team leader role, which was great because it was also in early intervention.
Cool. And I guess let's track back. So in terms of when did you qualify and what banding is the team leader role?
Okay, so I qualified in 2016.
Yeah.
And my current role is band 7.
Okay, cool. And so you said you were a care coordinator for some time. So in terms of your journey from being a newly qualified nurse into getting, so that'd be band 5 to 6, how long did that take? And then maybe then say a bit about 6 to 7.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I didn't actually ever start as a band 5 nurse. So before I qualified, I was a support worker in a private company, and I was a support worker there for literally 6 to 7 years. So it's where I did my master's and my second degree. I did it all as being a support worker, because I was funding myself for my master's. So when I qualified, where I was at being a support worker, they offered me a job as a staff nurse. But for those that don't know, in private healthcare, you don't start in banding. It's more like an NHS thing. So I actually started nursing on 48,000 a year, and that was me newly qualified. It was hard. It was long shifts and 6 months of night. It wasn't fun. But when I had my son in 2018, I couldn't go back there because, well, I could, but in terms of childcare and just my setup, the long days wasn't going to work. It was 13-hour shifts. So that's when I started to apply to go into NHS and looked at community jobs, because 9 to 5, you get your weekends, you don't work your bank holidays. So I would say I was a staff nurse for 2016 to it's about 2 years. I had a year off for maternity leave, and then whilst I was on maternity leave, I was applying for community roles, because I was a student in the community in Lewisham, and I really enjoyed older adults. So there was an opportunity that came up, so I started there as a care coordinator, band 6. So I guess that was like 3 years after qualifying. And then from there, I was there for about 2 years. And then I moved to care coordination in early intervention because I just wanted to get back into younger adults. Older adults a lot more about, dementia and Alzheimer's. And I just felt like my speciality was psychosis. So I wanted to go back into that field. And then I was there for, I think, just over a year in Lewisham as a care coordinator. And that's when I started applying for team leader positions.
It's like an amazing journey because it gives a different spin on what you get told, because I've had my whole career in the NHS, and it is you come out, you become a band 5 nurse, then a 6, etc. But obviously there's other opportunities other than NHS. Maybe that's something, if people are interested, we could talk about your experience in private sector. So colleagues, so anybody listening, if you really want to hear about how you get into or work in private sector, let us know, and Jade and I could come back and have a conversation about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's funny because I'd never really worked in NHS apart from my student placements. So that was completely foreign to me. I knew private inside and out. I'd been in that hospital for 7 years. So I knew, and it was a long stay. Well, they say long stay rehab, but it was more when NHS didn't have beds, the overspill would come to private. So we had like a lot of forensic patients there. So I feel like it built my experience of working with, I guess, the intense type of schizophrenia, the long lasting, where people are on clozapine. So NHS was a completely different experience for me.
Cool. And you also said that you self-funded your degree and your master's. What was your degree in nursing or your master's in nursing? Just give us a bit of what those were.
So my first degree, because I have 3, because I'm extra. So my first degree was psychology and criminal behaviour. I wanted to be a forensic psychologist, so I completed my 3-year undergrad degree, and then I went on to do a master's in forensic psychology. And then, which I had to go to part-time, because when I was doing it, when you did a master's, you had to pay the whole year basically by the end of your course. And I don't come from like a privileged background, so I went part-time within the first couple of months because I knew I needed to self-fund, which is why I carried on being a support worker full-time while I was doing my master's part-time. And then at the end of my master's, if I'm completely honest, I just wanted a job and I just wanted to get paid, which is why I made the transition into mental health nursing, because it seemed like a good fit for me. And because I think I'd been a support worker for so long and I saw what mental health nurses did, I just felt it was more aligned to me. And again, the doctorate that I wanted to go on to was the one in Birmingham. And it did just do forensic psychology, but for those who know, if you want to work as a forensic psychologist in the prison sector, you have to have a clinical psychology doctorate and specialize in forensics. They won't hire you if you just have a forensic one. So because of that, I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do clinical, so I'm going to just do mental health nursing. So I did that.
So once you did your forensic degree, what did you do to become a nurse following that?
So I spoke to some people about what do I need to do. And there was, I guess, a few options, because you can do nursing for 3 years, but because I'd got the other degree, I was able to do a PG dip. So it's a postgraduate diploma. So it's basically you're being taught at master's level mental health nursing. So I did that for 18 months, and then after that you're qualified.
That's really good to know, because I do know like a number of people do ask, I've got a degree in this, I've got a degree in that, how do I get into mental health nursing? So that's a way in. So it's amazing. So then you started in the private sector and then came over to NHS, or National Health Service. And as you said, where you were applying for a band 7 team leader role, you said you applied 4 times, and I always say to some, sometimes a no, it's hard, but you learn so much in those no's. So in terms, how did you deal with the 4 rejection? And I know you said, once you start applying, it's almost addictive, isn't it? But in between that, you did get 4 no's. How did you deal with that?
So when I say 4 no's, they weren't all in team leader positions.
When
I was working in older adults, there was a position that came up as clinical nurse specialist, which was band 7. So the clinical nurse specialist at the time, who was leaving, approached me and said, I think you're ready for this position, like with your experience beforehand and so on. I'll go on to that as well, because with NHS, everything is about experience, but everything is about experience in NHS. They kind of write off your experience if you've done it in private. So I think that is what let me down, is that I didn't have enough years in NHS behind me. So that was hard, the first one, because I guess in my head I hadn't even thought about applying for band 7. I was fine being a band 6 care coordinator. But you know when someone puts like a nugget in your mind, you're then like, okay, well, if higher bands can see I can work at that level. Yes, they said no, but I got an interview and I was shortlisted. So there's something about me on my application which gets me there. So I'm going to do it. So the first one, it was hard, but at the same time, there was a lot of people in the team that was applying. None of us actually got it who was in the team. But I think because it was my first band 7 interview, I kind of knew I wasn't going to get it, because I had no experience at band 7 interviews. And my feedback was, you're answering at a band 6 level. I wasn't thinking.
You would think,
Right.
Does that make sense now? Like when people say that, you sort of go, "What do you mean? I'm not." But give an example of what that means to you now, and then you could.
Example. I remember one of the questions. So one of the questions was something like, it was a scenario, and they said, "You've gone into a house, and it was something like you've gone into a house and." Somebody is, very psychotic, there's family and friends in there, blah, blah, what would you do? And the question completely threw me, because I answered as a band 6 care coordinator of what I would have done, which is, I don't know if you want me to go into it, but in brief, speak to the patient, make sure they're okay, are family okay, the safeguarding need to be involved, explaining what safeguarding is, because you can't really just make a safeguarding referral, and all that stuff, just containing the situation, with verbal de-escalation skills. That's what you do as a care coordinator, but as a team leader, you probably wouldn't even be at that visit. So it was quite a trick question, because it's what you would do, as a clinical nurse specialist in that role, because you probably wouldn't have been there on scene. So what you'd have done for that colleague. So that's how I understand the question now. But at the time, I did it as a nurse.
And I guess now you're in a band 7 role, you would answer it differently, wouldn't you?
100%. Because everything's different.
So if you first went for the clinical nurse specialist role, and like you say, I always say that your way in the door is getting shortlisted, and then it's on the day and the questions and stuff, so you're halfway there. So what was the next job you applied for?
The next one was interim team leader, again in the same place. Same team. Again, got shortlisted, had an interview, and the feedback again was, I'm not answering at a band 7 level. I would say this one hit me because I just felt it was interim. Because it's interim, I guess you'd prefer somebody to step up who's already in the team, because they know the team, they're friendly with the consultants. I think it's just a good learning opportunity. So that hit me hard, and also the lack of diversity on the panel. Also, I just think when you get to a certain level, there stops being people that look like you on the panel. And I felt like when I'd called back after I didn't get the interview, I asked to go through the questions, and I just felt they didn't really want to answer it. I felt that I was annoying them making that call to find out why I didn't get it. Could we go through the questions? Could I have a copy of the questions? Everything seemed a bit like withheld, because they were like, if you go for it again, we may use the same question. So I kind of get it, but I can remember some of them anyway. And I just felt like I didn't get mentored, and I wasn't made to feel like I'm the right fit for that team. And that's when I found like I just couldn't stay there as a band 6 care coordinator, because I just didn't feel valued. Yeah, I felt like there wasn't. I think they wanted someone just up and running to know what they were doing and get up and running, which I get, but at the same time, I just felt like there wasn't, and I didn't feel like I could progress in that team. Yeah.
So did that spur you on even more then?
It did. So I decided, because I'd been so long in private, like I said, 6 to 7 years, now 2 years in older adults. In mental health, it's really good to get, like, I would say, a diverse range of experience, because when you stay in something for too long, you're then kind of just looked at as that type of nurse. So I didn't want to spend too long in older adults, because I felt like I was maybe unskilling myself for early intervention and so on. So I made the decision to sidestep. So sidestep is just going in, like, you're the same band, but just moving to a different team in a different area of interest. And that was early intervention.
And that's always a good decision, I think. And I just sort of think sometimes you just need that. And like you say, it increases your breadth of experience. But also, if you're at a certain level for some time, going into another team really helps you to consolidate all that you know, but then helps to springboard into your next step. So tell us what happened when you sidestepped.
Okay, so when I sidestepped, obviously gone into early intervention, and I just loved it. I loved the clients. You said about consolidating skills, that as well as learning new skills. I love learning. I wouldn't say I'd forgotten how to do a mental state examination, because obviously you're doing it in older adults, but it's completely different. Like, you have to do like memory tests with patients. And get them to draw a shape, and there's a lot involved with older adults, and ensuring that MRIs are done and stuff. But with early intervention, it was a lot more like, could just get a lot from the mental state examination and kind of know what you need to do, not just like for their mental health, but socially as well. And that was in terms of, I guess the difference was in older adults, I guess it was more occupational health, like, do they need rails in their house and so on. Whereas with early intervention, it was more getting them back into education, getting them back into courses, and just getting them back into activities of daily living, which I guess had reduced due to their mental health condition. I just felt like working with families was different. I just, I'm smiling, I'm happy. Like, I got enjoyment from it. I really saw my patients get better. And I think that's something as a nurse, like, that's why we train. We want people to get better. But when you've been a long time in like rehab or older adults, it's quite hard to see that, because if anything, you're just keeping them stable, but they're probably going to be unwell for quite a long time. Whereas with early psychosis, if you get there early and get all these interventions in, like, family intervention, open dialogue, get them into a course, get them into education, get them into working with their employment coaches. There's so much more you can do to get them back. And that was just really wonderful seeing. And my caseload, I don't know, I feel like it was done deliberately. I got a lot of young people on my caseload. So like 18, 19, 20. And even though I'm like mid-30s, I just felt like I had a lot I could relate to them with. Just got, growing up in the same area, knowing that challenges. And a couple of them actually went on to train to be a nurse.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. How amazing is that?
But it was just really nice. It was a real sense of fulfillment.
So when you and I know you spoke about mentorship in your other thing. What else did you do that helped prepare you to go for your band 7 role? Because obviously you're now in a band 7 team leader. So what are some of the things that helped?
Okay, so courses.
Uh-huh.
NHS offer a lot of courses. So basically, I think I've done nearly every leadership course you can think of, and every coaching course. So I think especially like after Black Lives Matter, to me, there just seemed to be more of a push for Black staff to get more training. So there was a BME coaching opportunity
Mhm.
that I did with somebody named Errol Green, who's absolutely amazing. And he became like, a mentor at that time, and would give me mock interviews
Mhm.
for Band 7 roles. We met on Twitter,
Yeah.
and I was like, you have to be my mentor. So we had, like, I guess, numerous conversations and prep work, me sending over my personal statement probably 1,000 times. And again, I would say it's really important with your personal statement, because although I was being shortlisted,
Mhm.
I think when you looked at my personal statement, I saw what I wasn't adding, if that makes sense. So it's not just, it's, they say with your personal spec to write everything from your personal spec into your, what do you call it, basically into your summary. But I would say something like, I don't know. So they said, have you got experience working with high risk patients? I might just say, I have experience working with high risk patients, but you made me elaborate on that. So I've got experience working with high risk patients with the example.
Yeah.
So give an example for every single step in the personal statement. That was like my biggest advice that you gave me, that I took, my golden nugget. And what else did I made myself visible. So I went on
Mhm.
Twitter, and I literally was tweeting like the big people in NHS
Yeah.
mental health. So like the Vanessa Smith, David Bradley, high people. I was getting my name out there, which I wouldn't say helps, but in a way it kind of does help. Yeah, let's be real. It does help if you
It,
get your name out
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. So there's I don't know if I told you about pie. From a BAME perspective, we think if we work really hard, that's what's going to get us the job.
Mm-mm.
But it's thinking about what impact are you having and who knows about you. So the impact bit is the bit where I said in your personal statement, it's not just that you've worked in this is what your some of the outcomes that you've made, and so that's your impact. And then the other bit is then who knows about it. So we have to toot our own horn, and if that means going on Twitter and go, I did this,
Yeah,
and atting the right people, you just have to,
yeah.
because those are the things that get people to stand up and listen and look and go, oh, that Jade person
Mm,
is, and so there is how you work that and building your networks
yeah,
around that, definitely.
yeah.
That's a bit about your Band 7 role. What does that entail? What does a day look like in the life of a team leader for an early intervention team?
Let me tell anyone watching this, yeah? Sabrina will tell you, I was in a hurry to be. I remember it must have been like, I don't remember what month it was, but I remember saying by December, I'm going to be Band 7.
Hmm.
I don't know what month, maybe that, say it was February or
Yeah.
March, whatever it was. I mean, yeah, I got it. And I got in the role in August. Headache. I wasn't ready. That's all I can say. So a day in the life of a team leader, I would say meetings, and especially now that we're more virtually based because of COVID,
Hmm.
we're literally staring at a screen all day. Like, I don't really have any face-to-face interaction with people.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm working in the office, because we're in bubbles, so we're 3 days in the office and 2 days not. So it's like, unless I'm in on my bubble day, I'm still just in my office, basically with the door shut because of all the meetings. But the first meeting will be like zone in. So we just have like a traffic light system with the patients of people on the caseload. So this is an opportunity for people to bring like red zone patients or amber zone patients to discuss. And that's basically just patients who are at high risk of deteriorating in their mental health, whether that means carrying out a mental health act assessment or getting home treatment team involved. Is more like the red zone stuff. And amber is like, what do we need to step up so that we don't need home treatment teams, so we can rezone them back to green? So does that mean more weekly visits? Is that more phone calls? So that's basically the first meeting. And then after we do zoning, we then go into referrals. And we probably get between 5 to 7 referrals a day in early intervention, and that's coming from the GPs mainly. So it's, the staff screening the referrals, and then they bring in that to that meeting, and then, they'll be allocated a patient to go and assess. And then after they've assessed them, they have to bring them back to the meeting and talk about the assessment. And then we make the decision whether or not that person is for our team or not for our team, and who would be best suited. And then various just other meetings, really. Like, so I've got a team of 13 care coordinators. So I supervise about 9 of those, and the advanced practitioner supervises the other. So it's making sure they have monthly supervision every month, sorry. We have like leadership meetings. So we have a meeting called P&Q, which is performance and quality, which I dread. It's like the second Tuesday of every month. It's like the worst hour of my life, because basically you've got to go through the entire caseload. So in early intervention service, for people that don't know, as soon as the referral comes in and we accept that referral, the clock starts, and we have 14 days to assess that person, bring it back, talk about it, and then accept or reject. So basically, if you don't see a patient within 30 days, any patient after 30 days, we have to give an individual narration of why that person hasn't been seen. So it's then chasing care coordinators to make sure like why they haven't spoken. Half the time they have, but they're not recorded on EPJS and NHS. It's not documented. It hasn't been done. So a lot of I don't like micromanaging, and I think I guess we will probably touch on like the struggles of being a team leader, but it's very hard because I don't want to be that person like, okay, give me a list at the end of the day of what you've done. That's not my style of working. But at the same time, there needs to be some type of push, because some people don't get on with the job as they should. Their nursing is amazing, them going out and seeing patients, it's the documentation, because that includes care plan, risk assessment, drug and alcohol, physical health. Like there's a lot that we have to do. And there's obviously a big drive of physical health. So it's also having meetings about physical health and how we can get more of our patients to go to their GPs, to have their routine bloods and so on.
The other things that you have to then do is things like where people aren't happy with their care, complaints response, knock on wood, hopefully not serious investigations, but you might investigate some of those as well, wouldn't you?
So I manage complaints, and I've been allocated a serious incident. So for those that don't know, basically, a serious incident might happen. For example, a suicide within another team. And then there's people who are allocated to basically investigate what happened. And more of like a lessons learned. It's not really blaming people, but it's seeing what we could have done, maybe not even to prevent it, but was there any steps that could have maybe made there be a different consequence or ending, if that makes sense. So that's taken up quite a lot of time, because then you obviously have to, you're normally allocated in pairs, which I have been. And then you have to obviously have that discussion, read through all of the notes on EPJS, which is quite timely depending on how long the patient's been under the books. and then you have to start your investigation. So you then have to pick people to interview who was involved in that person's care, transcribe it, write it up, and make a decision, obviously then recommendations. And then also if a serious incident occurs in my team, that's when I'd also do a referral to SIS. And that's obviously, I think you've interviewed Raw already, but they then provide staff support for people who have been involved in serious incidents. We all meet as a whole team and just kind of go around and talk about our feelings, how it's impacted us. And how to keep staff morale, even though it's a difficult time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite a challenging role, isn't it? So as I've mentioned, challenging, what are some of the challenges that you faced?
Where do I start? How long is I would say the biggest challenge for me is I feel like an octopus. I literally feel like there is so much stuff for one person to do, especially in an early intervention service. We're a very big team. Like I said, 7 referrals a day. We don't have a full-time doctor. We've got, so it's a lot. So I would say my biggest challenge is trying to support people with staff burnout. The major one, because caseloads are too high, in my opinion. And I've spoken again to the relevant people that I need to speak to about this, because again, if we refer back to like NICE guidelines, an early intervention service should only have basically 13 to 14 patients, and our caseloads are between 28 and 30. So, that's the biggest challenge, staff burnout, and then retention, because if people are unhappy and are becoming sick all the time at work, they're going to start looking for other jobs. So making myself as available and as visible as I can to my staff, which is challenging because home life, I'm a single mum. When my son is ill, I can't work in the office on my bubble days. If I catch his cold, I can't come in if I've got COVID symptoms. That physical contact, I feel like I'm missing a lot with my team. And I would say that's a massive challenge. I think as well, just holding staff accountable. So I've touched on it earlier, but if a staff member is not doing their job as they should be, how you work with that person to support them, but at the same time be like, well, actually this does need to get done, because we can cap caseloads, we can take someone off assessment allocations, give someone an admin day to catch up on their notes, but I can't keep doing that if I'm not seeing results. So I would say that's a big challenge. I think I definitely get support. So my manager's great. Like when I call her, she's amazing. But she manages like 18 other services. So I would say, as much as she's supportive, a challenge has been, let's put it this way. I came from a care coordinator to a team leader with no experience. Okay, like I've been in senior positions, I've done rotas before, I've done supervision before, and I've handled return to work for sickness. But nothing could have prepared me for a team leader role. And I think every new team leader should be given a mentor or a buddy, because it's a lot. You need someone to just go down the phone and just ask an opinion, or cry to someone because the day's been so much, but you still got to put on a brave face for your team. So I'd say that is a challenge. That has been a challenge. But then a positive out of that, because we did say, I then phoned around a couple of other team leaders in a lot of other boroughs, and we actually now meet monthly. So it's not minuted or anything. We literally just go there and just say what is on our mind and how they can provide support. So that's been really nice. Yeah, I've kind of gone into support now, not just challenging. I can't just be all.
No, that's fine. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. I remember being a team leader as well. I describe it as being between a rock and a hard place, because it is, there's pressure from above and below, and it's quite a unique position. I don't think one could describe it, but there's something about using your own agency and finding that support. So I'm really glad that you've got support from your direct manager, but also linking up with other colleagues as well in your own peer, because there's something about having peers that are going through the same things, but also you might find that somebody's done something that you sort of think, oh, I didn't know about that, I could go try that. You know what I mean? Or they go, don't do this because this is what I did and this happened, you know, so you don't have to learn through the pain of it. So it's amazing that you do that. And I don't know if we network enough and share that burden. So well done you.
Thank you. I just felt it was important for my own growth and development. And, you know, again, my manager's amazing that she's allowed me to go, like, she gave me her approval for me to attend, like, coaching courses and leadership courses. And although they are brilliant, it's hard to use what you've learned in a place where there's not really a challenge to then bring that into, you know, your everyday to day. So I would say even networking in those coaching courses or leadership courses, I've met like at least 2, you know, they've become my friends. And we, again, catch up once a month. They're in different areas of the NHS, but they're band 7. Because I think even though me describing what I do is meetings, it's not describing the extent of what we do. There's just so like the rota, every return to work. Like there's just so much that a team leader does behind the scenes that people probably think, oh, she's just in another meeting again.
But
you can't explain what you do. And then apart from that, you've then got care coordinators calling you any time in the day because they want support and help with something. And you have to make yourself available to them. So then a lot of your to-do list kind of
sort of gets transferred to the next day, doesn't it? But you are right, and it does take a lot of organizational skills to do what you do, and switching from meeting to meeting, because the person you are in the zoning meeting is going to be different from the referrals meeting to the P&Q and the you know, and until people get to see behind that door, they don't really understand it.
I think band 7 for me is the hardest band, because like you said, you've got the pressure from above and the pressure from below, and everyone needs you. But I think maybe when you get maybe to band 8, things kind of ease a little bit, because you're kind of, I don't know,
well, having been through it, it's different types, different levels of pressure. But I guess the band 7, I think, is one of those where the leap into that role, I think, was the hardest. I think, because I guess once you get to band 8 and stuff, there's a bit of seniority and authority that comes with that as well. That helps, I think. But it's all got different pressures. At my level, there's different pressures, you know. And I'm sure
I'm in no rush to get to that level.
So you did talk about support and stuff. What else? And I know that you're not just, as you've mentioned, you're not just band 7 nurse Jade, you're also a single mom, and plus you're doing what I think is amazing called a nursepreneur, where you're doing your own little things on the side as well. So how do you balance all that, Jade? And tell people a little bit about that, because I just, you know, hats off to you that you're able to do all of that and still smiling.
Thank you. It's either I smile or I cry. And I've done enough crying. You know what? I think I've always been driven, and I've always known what I wanted, and I don't care how long it's going to take me to get there. I know I'm going to get there. So I think my mindset helps me. Like, I read a lot. I've got a bookshelf here. Every self-help book you can think of, every leadership book you can think of is here. So I definitely think mindset and listening to like podcasts
Mm-hmm.
of people that elevate you. I think being a single mum, it drives you even more, because it's like you look around and you're grateful for what you have, but you're like, I don't have a, well, not, I'm just generalizing here. I don't have a garden, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's like, I need to do what I can to ensure my son has a garden.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, especially in lockdown,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we were just in this flat. And that's not great for your mental health. So I think, and in my opinion, a 9 to 5 isn't going to get you your dream. Unless you're like, maybe, I don't know, band 9, if there's even a band 9. I just don't think that on its own is going to get you what you need, especially right now with like the cost of living crisis and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like literally 3 things on the side that I do, as well as nursing, because I'm a dreamer and I'm gonna make it true.
Yeah, you have to dream.
And I have to, like, and that's what gets me through it. But I guess practically, if you want practical support, I love a list. So lists are good because you can just tick off what you've done and move things like. So there was something I got taught in one of my coaching programs, and I've forgotten the name of the table. You might know. So you get like an A4 piece of paper and turn it.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah.
That way.
That way.
And you draw 4 boxes.
Yeah.
And basically, it's something like most important and urgent and needs doing now.
Yeah.
Most important but can wait. Least important but doesn't really need doing. Least important but does need doing.
Yeah.
I've got the title, but something like that. And you categorize the things that you need to get done in these boxes. And to be honest with you, I live by that now. So I would definitely say to look that up. I've forgotten the name. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, we'll add it in. Yeah.
So definitely that, and then just being organized in the house. So like on a Sunday, you know, I make sure I've got 5 outfits laid out for my son. So in the morning, like I'm including even pants, vest, everything is done.
Yeah.
You know, pick a pack, get dressed.
Yeah.
Everything is done. Like I batch cook. That is how I get everything done. And also as a nurse, I would say cook and bring in your own lunch, because do you know how much money I was wasting bringing in my own food?
Child.
Oh.
I know, and it adds up, because you just sort of think, oh, I'll just get a sandwich here. I'll get a meal deal's £5. £5, that's £25 a week. Hello. And then you're gonna have a little coffee in the morning as well, aren't you? And the coffee is now almost £3 for a coffee.
Right. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I've got my own coffee mug. Yeah. But you're so right about being really organized and list. Or I've just been reading this book about bullet journaling, which sort of does things that you sort of said, where if you've done stuff, you move things over. And just keeping a track of what you do, because otherwise, like everything else, other people's priorities take over. And you end up not doing what you need to do for you.
No, definitely.
Yeah. And you said you're doing 3 things. Do you want to share your thing that you do for yourself, just in case people want to, you know, buy your sunsetmoss? You know?
No. So basically, I sell sea moss dry, or I make it into a gel. I have an Etsy shop, and it's called sunsetmoss, if you want to go and have a look. It's 100% authentic. It's from Grenada. I know the divers. That's a massive passion of mine. So yeah, I do that. I have my own YouTube, which I've taken 6 months off. It was just hard to keep up. Hats off to you for keep going with your YouTube.
It's hard work. It is.
It is. The editing is just long. So yeah, my YouTube is Jade Tomlin. That's my name. And I'm in the middle of writing a children's book. And also I'm creating children's flashcards, which are in the design stage. And then my most profitable income right now, I'd say, is Vinted. So I sell.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah. Like I sell a lot of like old clothes or old toys on Vinted. Literally earned like just under $3,000
wow.
in 2
That's
years.
amazing.
So yeah, I just do anything I can really. Anything
Yeah,
legal
yeah, yeah.
um, to earn money. Yeah.
But I think, you know, in this day and age, I think we just have to be really creative. Like, I've got a few things on Fit. I haven't been pushing it as much because I've got so much clothes and shoes I haven't worn, and
Okay.
lockdown didn't help.
No.
You know, and I just they're in my closet, and it's like I'm not going to wear them. I don't even think some of them could still fit.
Right.
God, I can't believe I just said that. But yeah, I don't think they could still fit. So I need
Because
to.
you've lost so much weight that they'll be
I have, yeah, like, you know, they're just hanging off me.
yeah, no,
So,
definitely Vinted.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's so good. So in terms of what sort of tips would you give to anybody thinking about any band sixes wanting to be a team leader?
I have a few people actually in my team who are just dying to be band 7.
Yeah.
I'm like, can you see these bags? Like, quiet. Why would you want this role? Obviously, you want to be supportive, so you want to tell people the good things, and obviously, you know, if you want to progress in your career, you're going to have to get probably a band 7. However, one of my leadership courses did teach me you don't have to do band 7. You can jump
Yeah.
band, but obviously, I would say to ensure that you're well-rounded and know exactly what you're doing, I would definitely advise people to go through the bands. Because you don't want to be in a position where you get to a certain level and you don't know what, like you've blagged your way there and you can't do the job. Because of, you know, these are people's lives. There's a lot of people depending on us and you as an individual. So I would say definitely go through the banding, take your time. You know, do shadow opportunities. There's loads of different types of band 7 roles. So I would say maybe shadow a team leader, shadow a matron. Actually, the matrons are not 8, I think, but
Yeah.
some matrons are 7, I think, depending what area.
Yeah, depends. Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, like shadowing, like, you know, clinical nurse specialists, advanced practitioners, asking them what does their role entail. Like I said, I spoke about P&Q, so that's a massive meeting. And in my team, like I do mini P&Qs with all the care coordinators. So it's 15 minutes a month to go through their whole caseload to look at their KPIs. But if you're interested in being band 7, ask, can you shadow the main P&Q meeting so you know why we're so hard on you that these things need to get done.
Yeah.
I know, like in Lewisham, in the Borough of Lewisham, there's bronze meetings, but band set, like the team leader can go to those. In Lambeth, I've never been invited to a bronze. I think it's band 8s and above. But again, for my own learning, it would be good even for me to shadow bronze to see what pressure the manager has that comes to me that needs to be filtered down. So yeah, just loads of shadowing opportunities. Get your name out there. So I don't think I even told you this, but there was a head of nursing role in Croydon. I didn't go for it. But at the bottom of every interview, it will say like, this is the contact person.
Yeah.
So there was 2. So I contacted both of them in Croydon. And they were just like, this is so brave of you, like as a band team leader, like calling us. Not saying that they weren't trying to say like you called me, but in terms of that's a massive jump, head of nursing from where I am. But I felt like I need to call them because one day maybe that is what I want to do.
Yeah.
No, what does the role entail?
Yeah.
You know, what support do you get? Again, getting my name in a different, like I've worked in Lewisham, I've worked in Lambeth, I've not worked in Croydon, I've not worked in Southwark, so it's good also to get your name around. That mental health is very small. So I would say, even if you feel like you're not ready for a position, contact people. Just contact. That's what I would say is the biggest thing. Be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in my team, as a band 6, there might be an opportunity for you to lead like a quality improvement task, or there might be, again, there's a massive drive for physical health. So think outside the box. Think what initiative you can do to improve your service that will make leaders and people above you think, oh, we need Jade on side here. Like, I can see what she's doing. She's not just being a care coordinator and sticking to a care coordinator, but she's thinking outside the box. So I'd say think outside the box and do things that is going to get you noticed.
You'll be surprised how many people I speak to who come to me and go, I've applied for this job. And I go, have you spoken to the person that's put the job out? And they haven't. And I was like, but why? Like, you get so many gems when you speak to that person. Because like you say, you find out about what the role entails, what they're looking for, what some of the challenges, what sort of person are they looking for in the role. Plus also you're putting a name to a face, and you're pre-interviewing your potential manager.
100%.
So really good tips. I
think what else I would say is that even if you don't feel, this is very cliche to say, like interview experience, even if you don't feel ready for a role, that there's something you want to become band 7 and there's a band 7 interview, not in your field, but you think I would still apply, because ask for feedback for your personal statement. And then if you don't get shortlisted, still ask why. And I remember the team leader position I applied for just before I got this one. There was a question around risk and what you need to do. And when I asked for feedback on that question, they said it's not just thinking clinical, it's also thinking about like your environment, so the building. I would never have known that. Before, if I hadn't spoken to someone, I just wouldn't have thought about health and safety risk. So even if you don't get the job, you do get nuggets from people, because they say things and you're like, oh, like. And then when I went for this position, that same question they asked me, and I was so confident in that answer because I'd been prepped like a month before. And that's another thing. If you don't get the job straight away, I would say apply. Like, it's like a driving test. If you fail, you've got more chances of succeeding and passing if you just get back in the car and book a test for the week after. So I'd literally say just keep applying one after the other, and you're gonna get it. And if you don't, it could be because you can't do the role, but most of us can. You learn on the job. I've learned like so much on this job. But B, I would say as BAME staff, if you could routinely do not get the job and you're not getting correct feedback, then take it to people who are higher than you and ask to be mentored by someone and go into coaching courses, because there is still like a lot of, I guess, disparity between who is in these positions.
Thank you so much, Jade, for all these nuggets that you've dropped. Do you want to, at the end, I can leave where people can get in contact with you to order sunsetmoss, but also, to link in with you on Twitter, etc.
Yes, I've not been as active on Twitter, but I'm going to. It's because my phone storage is low. But I would definitely say I don't even mind sharing. I guess how you want to do it, but like my email or something. If you're really interested in nursing and you'd like some support or advice, like even a student, I'm more than happy to speak to people, because again, on the side, I go into schools and I speak at like sixth form events and year 9, I think, when you're like doing the work experience, I do go in and like kind of picture them about mental health nursing. So definitely, I'm happy for anyone to get in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And let's be bold and brave together. As Jade says, go call some people. When you think you're not ready, you are.
Go send that email now.
Yes.